Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things I've learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And on my vlog through the years, I'm like at a year and 2 months now that I have vlogged every day of my entire life. So go check it out, Peter Vlogs, it's listed below. I talk a lot on there about money and not like how to have money or wealth or any of that kind of stuff, but how I have learned to become manageable with money, if that makes sense, and mostly through the mistakes that I have made in my life. And whenever I talk in there about like my attitudes about money or debt and how I have like paid off debt and things like that, I always get tons of comments, and actually I get a lot of emails from younger people asking me questions on like the things that I've learned and whatever. So I thought I'm just gonna do a video about it today on here and kind of try to consolidate it all into one little story time on here that maybe some of you will relate to, maybe some of you will learn from, maybe some of you won't hopefully make the same mistakes that I have made, and on and on and on. So let's get right into this, shall we? When I was, let's say, 19 years old, I think, let's say, when I was 19 years old, I got this thing in the mail. It was an invitation for a credit card. Now, most of us have gotten those, right? And I was so excited. And I think the limit at the time was like $300, the max limit, you know? And so I called my dad up on the phone and I was like, oh my God, Dad, I got like, you know, this invite for a credit card, and I thought that meant like I had great credit, right? And you know, all my friends were like, oh, you have to have a credit card because that way you can build credit and just put one dinner on it a month and then, you know, pay it off at the end of every month and then you'll have great credit, right? Well, at that time, I didn't have great credit and I didn't have any kind of income coming in either, other than illicit drugs that I was selling. So it wasn't like I had mass wealth to have a credit card. And I remember there was like silence on the other end of the phone. And my father has always been somebody that is very wise with money. And he said to me, don't get a credit card. He was like, if you do not have the cash to buy something, you do not have the money to buy it. He goes, basically, when you get a credit card, what you're doing is you're putting yourself into debt. And I said, no, like you just pay it off and it is whatever. And he goes, people see credit cards as free money to spend, but it's not, because you have to pay it back. And not only that, but at interest, right? So I was like, whatever. I ended up getting this credit card, and it was my very first credit card that I ever got, $300 limit. And I think at that time, like the interest rate was something like really low, like 9 or 11%. Like back in the day, you could get credit cards with low interest rate. Flash forward to, let's say, I don't know, it was like 10 years ago, and I think at that point I had many credit cards, and that credit card was at about $23,000 in debt, and I was at 31% interest rate. So needless to say, what I was paying every month on the minimum, I was never hitting the principal. And since I've explained this story to a lot of people and people don't understand what that means is the principal of the credit card was the total loan or the total amount due, which was like $23,800, I think, right? So every month I was getting an interest charge fee of 31%. And on top of that, I was also having to pay a minimum payment. And my minimum payment on that credit card at that point was ridiculous. It was like $700 or $800. So I was paying $700 or $800, but it was never going towards the $23,000 because it was just the minimum payment. So I would pay it, and then the next month I was like almost at the exact same balance on all of my credit cards. I think at the end I had like 8 credit cards. And so my dad and I have a very interesting financial arrangement. I've talked a lot about this on my vlog. When I got sober, you know, my father had, when I was growing up, you know, bought me my first car, paid for my education, paid for treatment and all this kind of stuff. And when I got sober, one of the things was that it was very important to me that I was independent and I was self-responsible or self-reliant on my own finances. So I've told this story on my vlog before, and it's kind of funny. My first sponsor told me, he said, you need to have a conversation with your dad and tell him that you can no longer take money from him. And I was like, I know, but like I need a new car, like, because I had totaled my car the last time that I used. And this was about 9 months later. And he said, I understand that, but like if you ever want to have a relationship with your dad that's not bound to money, then you need to, have that conversation with him. So my response to this, and this is why you should always listen to your sponsor if you are in recovery, was that I let my dad go buy me a new car, and then I had the conversation with him, and I told him that I could no longer take money from him, and that I wanted our relationship to not be based on money, and which we have stuck to for 23 years. And then I went and got a new sponsor. So, a little shady in my early days of sobriety. Yeah, I was. And, but I look back on that and I was like, I so needed a car and I didn't know how I was going to pay for one. I had no money. I was making minimum wage, working in a treatment facility, and it just wasn't realistic, and I had to have wheels, So anyway, but I do suggest that people follow the advice of their sponsors, because I would have probably learned some valuable lessons a lot earlier. So flash forward to I think it was actually maybe Alex and I have been together for 9.5 years now, so it was probably 9 years ago. I called my dad up, and I have this mass debt, okay? And I'm gonna be completely honest on this video, because I want people to realize that you too can get yourselves out of debt, and you don't have to file bankruptcy or sell your house or all that kind of stuff. Those are things that you can do, but you don't have to do that. And I've known a lot of people that have done the credit agencies where they pile it all together and you pay some lump sum. The thing is that what I have found out through time is that long-term hurts your credit just the way that filing bankruptcy does. So for me, filing bankruptcy, and I know a lot of people don't have any other options, so I'm not gonna, step on your toes, but for me, that was not something that I wanted to do. I was terrified of it affecting my credit long term. I knew that my dad probably wasn't gonna help me out of any financial thing. So I called him up and I said, hey, I'm really scared. I don't know what to do. I cannot pay. I'm getting to the point where I can't even pay my minimum payments on my credit cards, because they were just going up and up and up, right? And he said, okay, he goes, well, why don't you come over here and we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. Now, I keep all of my bills listed in a book, and this is something that my dad taught me a long time ago. I have a notebook, and in the notebook I have everything from my mortgage to my electric bill to everything on there, my car payment to all my credit cards, and I have them all listed below. And then I have written down next to it the date that it's due and how much it's due. And so after I've paid it, I put a line through it, and then when every line is crossed out on the page, I've paid all my bills for the month. And today, it's a great feeling of safety, security, and satisfaction when I get all of those bills paid in the month. And I try to get it done. I don't ever go spend money until my bills are paid first. Hold on a second. Pee-Pee would like to be in this video, he said. He says, I don't like to talk about money, Dad. Just buy me more treats. So anyway, we went over to my dad's house, and I showed him my book, and my dad, he calls me Pete, and he was like, Pete, I'm very proud of you. You really have this organized. And I was like, thanks. And we were sitting there with with Alex and my stepmom, and my dad said, $83,000 worth of credit card debt. Okay, now don't forget, my dad said to me back in the day, don't ever get a credit card debt, or don't ever get a credit card. And my dad said to me, he goes, I could go inside and I could write you a check twice, probably out of debt. And he goes, and then you and Alex could have a great life and whatever. He goes, I'm not going to do that. He goes, because I know you and you'll just run up the credit cards again. He goes, you need to learn this experience on your own. And he goes, and 23 years ago when you got sober, I was taught not to enable you, and I'm not going to enable you now. And he said, if you want me to help you come up with resources of how to get rid of this debt, I will do that. But I'm not going to pay it off for you. I'm just not going to do that. That's not my responsibility. You earned this debt and you need to take care of it. And I was like, seriously? So my dad gave me the book, Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And if you guys don't know who Dave Ramsey is, he is amazing, and I am not sponsored by him. I've never met him. I've never gone to one of his seminars. I've listened to some of his podcasts or audio books. I've read the book Total Money Makeover, and it so resonated with me on so many different levels. And I could get in here, and I've talked a lot about it on my vlog about how he tells you to have your dream car and all this kind of stuff. But he has so many just layman's terms exercises on how to just pay off your debt and have savings and be able to live the life of your dreams. If you are younger and you are watching this video, there are two books that I always tell people that are in college or right out of college. I gave it to my brother-in-law when he graduated from college to read, and that is Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, and the second one is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You can get it at Walmart. You can get it anywhere. It's fantastic. It talks a lot in there about that, you know, all of us need two different kind of learning experiences in life. And so it goes in there and explains that. But I read Total Money Makeover, and in Total Money Makeover, Dave Ramsey talks about snowballing debt, okay? Now, one of the things I do want to say, this is totally off the subject, but I've talked a lot about this in my vlog, and people are always interested in this. I am a weirdo when it comes to my checkbook. I still have a checkbook. I put everything in my checkbook, and my checkbook is to the penny. I mean, to the penny. But when I got sober and I started trying to part of becoming sober and becoming a new person and a person of character is taking care of your finances, paying financial amends off, things like that. One of the things that my dad taught me was to always pad my account. And so what I do is, I keep every receipt that I spend, and I only use my debit card, and then I add all the receipts together, and then I round up like $1 or $2, and then I write it down in my checkbook, and so I have padded my account for 23 years now, 22 years. I have no idea what the true value of my account is. I see what's on the statement, but I know that that's not what I have in my checkbook. And that way I don't ever overdraw my account. The reason I did this was back in the day, I overdrew my account by like $10. And my dad told me, he goes, I'll help you with it this one time, but from now on, this is what you need to do. Pad your account. Always put a 20 in there and don't write it in your checkbook, which the first time I ever did that was so hard. But after I did it a 20 every month, over a year, I knew there was 100 or something in there, and I have never bounced a check or overdrawn on my account since then. So anyway, if you read Total Money Makeover, Dave Ramsey talks in there about snowballing your debt. And what that basically means is there's a couple ways to do it, and there's apps that you can even do it on your phone or your iPad, and I did it on my iPad actually. And you go in and you put every bill that you have, every piece of debt, from your mortgage to your apartment rent to your car loan to whatever, to your credit cards, you put everything in there, right? And then let's say if your lowest credit card is let's say your payment is $30 a month, and you know that you can, and the limit is $300 and it's maxed out, and you know you can probably pay $50 or $100 extra a month, right? So you start paying every month on the lowest one $100 until you get it paid off. Then when you get it paid off, what you put on towards that credit card, you apply to the next one. And so it's like a snowball, get it? Bigger and bigger and bigger. Until your last credit card, you're making huge payments every month, but it's only one amount that you're making. But you have to stick to it, okay? And here's the thing. The 2 years that I did it, I didn't drink Starbucks. We downsized on a lot of our bills, like cable and stuff like that. And I was so strict with this snowballing of the debt, right? I got $83,000 worth of debt paid off in 2 years. And I was so proud. Every credit card that I got paid off, I cut up and I called and I closed the account. And they beg you to stay around, right? They're like, no, we'll do this. We'll they always say we'll increase your limit. I'm like, no. And so I was so scared, and I got it all paid off, right? So 2 years it took me to snowball my debt from $83,000. Think about that. That's a lot of money. That's a house, okay? That's a Range Rover. That's a lot of money. And I was so proud of myself. And so after that, I got rid of all my credit cards. And now I only have, my husband has a credit card and I have a credit card. We have them for emergencies. We don't use them for anything other than that. And then we just use cash or a debit card. And that's kind of a rule we have. Any major purchases, y'all know that I just bought a washer and dryer if you watch my vlog. Any major purposes, and we keep a Best Buy card too, just for but it's very low limit on there. We keep it for if we need stuff for a computer or whatever, because I do YouTube. So, but other than that, we don't have anything. And any major purchase that we make, and I mean even if I go buy a computer or a camera or vice versa, we discuss with each other, because I think that a lot of couples don't talk about money, and I think it's really, really important. And, we have learned that we sometimes don't talk about money in ways that we need to be really direct with it, if that makes sense. If we're planning a trip, we need to say to each other, this trip isn't realistic. We can't take it this year. And we've had to have some hard conversations about things, this dinner we can't go to, or this wedding, we just can't afford to go out of town that weekend and things like that. But in the long haul, what it's really saved us is safety and security financially. So the reason I wanted to tell this story on here is, number one, everybody should go read those 2 books. Total Money Makeover and Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'll link them below. So if you guys want to go buy them, you can, whatever. But you can find them also at Walmart or Meijer. They're at Target. They're at every major store like that. Barnes & Noble, Half Price Books. But anyway, I just, I talked to so many people about this, and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm in so much debt, I'm never going to get it paid off. And the thing is that even if you only pay like $5 or $10 extra a month, this snowballing of debt can be possible for you too. It doesn't have to be where you're paying $300 or $400 extra a month. You can do it on a very small level. And actually, I think when I started, I ended up paying my car loan off like 2 years early. And that was one of the pieces that I was totally amazed by. And now what I do is, okay, so I'm on a car loan right now. And my plan is that once I get it paid off, it's almost paid off. So I'm going to be like 2.5 years early on my car loan. I'm doing the Dave Ramsey next thing, and I'm driving this car into the ground. And then every month, I'm taking my car payment money and I'm putting it into savings. And when that car won't drive anymore, I'm going out and I'm buying a car with cash. That's what I'm doing. And I don't care what car it is. So, like he talks a lot about stuff like that when you drive a car off the lot, it depreciates in value. And that, we, like all of us have this mentality that we need to have this great car, but do we really need to? And if you really do want a Porsche, then follow his thing and then you can buy it with cash. He is so smart, and I'm so dumb when it comes to money that I need people to talk down to me. So anyway, I just want to make this video today because I know a lot of you guys out there struggle with money and you struggle with debt and things like that. And this whole snowballing of debt is one way to really, really get out of debt. And even if it takes you 5 or 6 years, it can be possible for you too. I promise. I promise you, okay? So you can even Google snowballing debt and the articles will come up. You don't even have to buy the books. So just check it out. If you have any questions for me on how I did it or specific things about it, email me and I will help you, I promise, all right? I hope that helps you guys. I love you, and I know this was a little bit different of a video, but I just wanted to put it out there, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.